Boker Tov, good morning. Today is Friday, October 30th, Erev Shabbat Parshat Lecha, on a Shabbos preceding a very consequential week. This Tuesday upcoming is Election Day. We'll make important decisions, especially about who the next president of the United States will be. And I want to have us think about our role in this and each of us as Jews, as we think about our place in this. And I want to approach this through the context of the Torah that we'll read tomorrow. We're told by Yavo Palit that the refugee comes who's been caught up in the battle between the 4 and the 5 kings to tell Avram what has happened to Lot, that Lot has been taken captive. So the verse says, Vayavo Palit vayaged la'avam ha'ivri. This refugee comes and tells Avram the Hebrew. That's the first time we've heard that phrase. The only time we really refer to Avram that way in the Torah. Tells him what happens. Then the Torah goes on to tell us more. V'hu yoshev, that Avram was dwelling Be'lonei Mamre ha'amori, in the place that's called the terebinths of Mamre, the Amorite, and he was Achi Eshkol v'Achi Aner, the brother of these two other people, Eshkol and Aner, Vehem Baalei Brit Avram, and they, together, this collective, were members of a treaty relationship with Avram. They have a brit, they have a covenant, a treaty with Avram. So what is the Torah telling us about each of these components? On the one hand, Avram Ha'ivri, on the other hand, Avram, the one who has a brit, has Baalei Brit. Well, I think it's partially, it sort of lays out for us this complicated question of place and interest, and whether things go beyond interest. Firstly, Avram is an Ivri. What does that mean? One of many possibilities. Simplest rendering: he is a descendant of Aver. It was an ancient individual, right? That we relate back to in our lineage. So he is Avram Ha'ivri, comes from him, and Aver might also have been a monotheist, right? He was a monotheist, and so Avram Ha'ivri, we get to know his lineage a little bit. But that's strange why the Torah would bother telling us that right now, unless it wants to tell us that, look, other people look at Avram as an interesting, unique, and maybe exotic figure. That relates to the other interpretation that he's Me'ever HaNahar. He comes from the other side of the Euphrates River. In that sense, also, he comes from far away. But we're intrigued by this man, Avram. And so he's okay. He's okay. He stands for something. He stands for something. He knows who he is. The other rendering, though, in the Midrash is that no. Ha'ivri, isn't this talking about where he comes from and how that sort of continues to animate him? But rather, it's about opposition, one on one side and the other side. The whole world is on one side, Behu be'ever acher, that's close to the exact phrase, and he's on the other side. That's how things lay out. We're always the other, and Ivri means to tell us the other in opposition or the opposed to. Right? And that's an interesting question about how the Jew sees himself or herself in the present moment, in the modern era, in a friendly nation such as this. And there are some of our brothers and sisters and our cousins who still see ourselves really as very much other, Ivri, and they actually see the rest of the world as really other to us and in opposition to us, and that is a narrative that is continuously repeated, that we are other and they other us, and we really don't have much to do with them unless we need to get involved. We will. To save Lot, we'll get involved. We'll step in when there is an interest on our part to do so, but otherwise we really need to define ourselves consistently and always as Ivri that way. Yet, the Torah wants to tell us an additional point here, and that is that Avram has Baalei Brit, Mamre, Aner, Eshkol, these individuals. Now, it could be that that phrase merely wants to tell us that everyone needs to find allies in a really dangerous kind of world. You can't be on your own, so you find you shared interest to look, and you promise to look out for each other, and that could be often what a brit would be. When if people attack you, then I'm on your side, and if people attack me, then you're on my side also. We're not going to be in this alone. So that could be, but I don't think that's how we read this phrase. No, 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 no. Baalei Brit means that they share something. They share something, this covenantal bond that exists between them. And the Midrash actually will tell us that Avram will turn to them, strangely, a little bit, right? When God tells him to undergo a circumcision at the end of the parashah and enter a covenant with God, Avram turns to them for advice. Should I do it? Should I do it? No, their advice doesn't matter to us right now. But these are people whose opinion he values, and there's a sense of connection to them which is deeper than merely transactional and interest related. And that's the other way in which a Jew sees himself or herself in a world with other people. Not merely that we're other, and either you make me other or I'm other. But I come with the first rendering of what it means to be an Ivri, with a good sense of myself, my identity, where I come from. And I don't lose that. And yet I can enter and engage with you because we have much to benefit. Well, not wrong way to say it, right? We share so much together. We benefit from that relationship not merely in a transactional way, but we're enhanced by it. We grow by it. There's something deep about a bond that we're living through right now together. And that, my friends, we have to keep in mind, and I would say is the dominant component as we enter this week. Many of us have already voted, whether it's been an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballots and sent them in or dropped them in. A number of us stood out on a number of the rainy days this past week and voted early. I meant to have my little sticker. Voted early here in White Plains, long lines, but it was really powerful. And as I was there, I didn't say, okay, here I am as an individual Jew who's got my interest, and I'm here to vote. That sometimes we have to keep in mind. I was there as a member of this society, as a part of this nation, Baalei Brit, that we all share in a covenant. Even though it's gotten very ugly in this country, it was almost a prayerful presence that I had, and I think many others did as well. A belief that there's something stronger to this country than we've been even seeing in recent days and weeks and months and years. It is an Artsot Habrit. That's how it was. The United States of America was somehow made its way into Hebrew as the lands of the covenant, of the bond, the federation or confederation, presumably is where that relationship was. But that greater sense of what will hold us together is there in what we have, what we do, and what we must believe and work towards right now. So that's part of a prayer, of a tefillah. As we enter the Shabbos and as the week ahead comes, we're all quite anxious about whether this country will hold itself together or, God forbid, head in the wrong direction, in another direction, and tear itself apart or be torn apart. And we offer that prayer that we're in this together, and that people, everyone, should recognize that. And it is in our interest to do so, but perhaps we can recognize that it's something that really holds us together, a greater sense of being Baalei Brit together, that will drive us into the polling places on the 3rd, and God willing on the morrow, on the 4th, or whenever it is that a decision will be rendered, as an announcement will come as to who the next president is. That will prevail. The sense of togetherness of Baalei Brit will be the guiding force for the future of this country. Kain Yehi Ratzon.